Hey, what's good YouTube? Antayami here, back with another video. And in today's video, I want to talk about my Greenville regionals. I decided to play Sky Striker. Little unprepared because 2 days before the event, and again, sorry if my camera freezes. For some reason it does that and I can't fix it. So I don't know how to make it stop freezing, but I apologize in the future if it does. So I took Sky Strikers to the regionals. I was gonna take Bestial Control, and for some reason the locals before I went, I didn't like how it performed. You know, I don't know, it just like it had really funny hands. I lost a lot of die rolls. It kind of discouraged me, so I made a very last second switch over to Sky Striker, a going second Sky Striker list, and honestly I think it performed really well. But I got 67th in the tournament, and most of it due to straight draws. Like I literally drew like almost half my rounds, so very unfortunate. But what happened was our game ones were kind of long. Then game two we kind of went into time, and I couldn't clutch it out half the time. There were some rounds like where I just straight lose, or most of the time I won. So but yeah, we'll go over the matchups that we went over. Round one, I went against OTK Machines. Round two, I went against Heroes. Round three, I went against Labyrinth. Yo, I promise, I'm sorry, but that guy literally got clapped up. Like, I literally super outplayed that guy. It was really insane. Shout out to that guy. He was a very nice guy. But game one was insane because I felt like I was supposed to lose game one, and then I did like this really crazy reversal and then brought the tempo back and slowly won. It's crazy. Round four was Constellars. Really insane deck. That deck had like math mechs and craziness in it. It was crazy. Then after that I went against Cash, then Pearlies, Flow, Cash, and then Drytrons. So no branded, no runics, no sprites. Like, it was pretty insane. I thought I'll run into at least one or two of those decks each, and didn't go against it at all. And I thought I'll go against way more Cash, but I only went against 2 Cash players. So it was pretty, I don't know, I wasn't ready for that. Especially OTK Machines and Heroes. Like, that was something I just didn't even prepare for. So yeah, that was very, very interesting. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this deck profile. I'll go over some changes and stuff like that. I feel like my main deck was pretty good, maybe a couple of changes, but as far as the extra deck, it could have been better because a card that I will mention came up multiple times. So starting off with the Striker monsters, we play Triple Ray, of course, 1 Rose. The ratios were perfect. I wouldn't play more of Rose. Triple Ray is pretty standard for most decks. Going into like the hand traps, I played a triple Imperm, double Droll, and triple Ash Blossoms. Ash Blossoms put in work. Drolls should have been at 3. Drolls should have been at 3. And Imperm was the worst out of the like hand traps. It still did work, but sometimes I just held it for my turn if I drew it by itself for the most part, because my deck can already like push through a lot of boards, and it's just underperformed in a lot of scenarios. I wish it was like a Chalice in most cases. But yeah, this should have been at 2, and the Droll should have been at 3, because every time I drew Droll, I literally like won that game. So that's a change I would have made if I would have tested the deck a little bit more, but it's still performed pretty well. Going into the spell cards, the Striker spells, we played Triple Widow Anchor. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. You gotta play 3 of it. It's like one of the best Striker cards in the deck. Triple Linkage. It was so good. I did the OTK twice. One of the times I pushed because I was like, maybe I can OTK. Didn't happen. I got Imperm on the Kagari, so it is what it is. But yeah, very solid card. Won me a lot. And the whole problem, like the whole issue with this deck is if you don't have a way to extra deck, you pretty much lose. So I think I bricked like that once. and I had to like use double desires to kind of put myself back into the game, but it was just too late at that point. So, but yes, that was one time that really came up where I had no way to extra deck, but the entire time I did. So the deck was really consistent. We played the double afterburners. We played the double multi-roll. Multi-roll honestly can be played at 1. I wanted to test it just to see how it would play at 1, but it honestly could have been at 1. It definitely helped me break boards. It helped me break through the Constellar board, because he ended on Appaloosa for 3, Time D for Doer, Utopic 0. Like, his board was insane. But multi-roll helped me crack that, which was really great. But I feel like it could definitely be a one-up, and if it gets banished off of desires, then I mean, I guess it is what it is. But going second, I can see it being cut to 1, but I'll have to see. Of course, you play the double engage. Engage is so crazy at 2. Every time my first action is usually activating Pot of Desires, and I never banished 2 at the tournament. I have banished 2 in practice before, which is unfortunate, and most of the time I still won, because there was a format where I was playing Striker with no engages, so it kind of reminded me of those times. But yeah, it was obviously good. I kind of sacked the Purely player because I feel like I was supposed to lose that in game 3, and then I top deck engage, and it just put me back into the game. It was very broken. So yes, engage, amazing. We played the 1 Shark Cannon, 1 Area 0, 1 Ego Booster, and 1 Drones. I think a lot of people don't play Ego Booster, but this card is really insane. If this was like a going first striker deck, I'll probably put this to 2. But a lot of the times what I would do is that I would make an access code talker, kind of board wipe the board, and then after that I'll attack directly for 43. Usually most of the time access code talker is at 43, and then I will search my way into Eagle Booster and then set it, and then whenever my opponent interacts with the access code talker, I make it unaffected and can't be destroyed by battle. So basically you couldn't really out it unless you have like a kaiju, and then he would just swing for game next turn. I did that twice at the regionals, and it was pretty good. It was very, very strong. But yes, that's it for the Sky Striker spells. Like I said, multi-roll could have went to 1. That would be like my only change, or at least I want to try it out for the future. But overall, still pretty solid. Going into like the non-striker spells, I played triple Tactics Thrust. Now, you want to talk about a really broken card going second? This card literally suches every single card in my deck, and it was MVP. Like, it searched engage 9 times out of 10. I think one time it searched like Dark Hole, which is the next card right here. Yeah, Dark Hole is so insane because it just breaks boards. Like, it really breaks boards. That's why I was so sad I didn't go against like Eevee Sprites or Sword Souls or anything like that, because like this card by itself just puts so much pressure on the board. They have to respond to it or they just get board wiped. And that in conjunction with the multi-roll, which I drew a lot of times with Dark Hole, it just board wipes the board for free. And then it already puts like 2 spells in the grave if I do the triple thrust into the Dark Hole. So I just got to go into battle, Hayate, dump a spell, and then activate engage, and it's just like I'm playing the game at a pretty high tempo level. So Dark Holes, insane. Cached Heroes, go first. I board wipe them. It was insane. Dark Hole, I would never cut this card. This card is amazing. Arguably, it could be a Raigeki, but I didn't want to risk running into like Gold Pride punks and run into that one monster that gives you the token. And it's really awkward to play around that, so I opt to play Dark Hole. But yeah, Dark Hole performed amazing. Of course, you gotta play the double desires, the 1 triple tactics talents, really, really good. Like, desires is so insane. I remember one time I needed to like draw something really well, and I desired into desires a lot, which sucks. I did that probably 3 times at the tournament. But it also drew me into engage a lot of the times. So it was very, very strong. It puts a spell in the grave. It's just super strong. And then I played 1 terraforming, 1 Rhoda, and 1 chalice. I was playing like triple chalice, But the issue I was having was, this is before I made the change to Dark Hole to 3. It's because this card can be activated even though there's monsters in your spell or in your monster zone, which came up a lot because I got Kaiju a lot and people thought they can just free play, and you know, this and Imperm literally like surprised them a lot. So I think we definitely should play more Chalice. Unfortunately, I definitely wanted to try out the Forbidden Droplets, but under Shifter and also under Arise Heart, I felt like I was gonna get Shifter a lot, and yeah, I did. Versus Flunderies, I got Shifter like almost every single, you know, round. I still took him to game 3, but yeah, like Shifter anti-spell was just like raps. I couldn't really do anything about that, and both the cash players put me on the Shifter. So one, I lost 2-0 to the first cash tier player, and the other guy was a going second cash tier player. I kind of just hand trapped him, and he just didn't really play. So even though I was on a Shifter, it gave me some time to kind of like play out of Shifter. But yeah, he just kind of didn't draw like the best. So kind of lucky, I guess. But I mean, cash tier is not the most consistent deck. It shouldn't seem like on paper it shouldn't break, but it does. So or sometimes they just lose to one hand trap, and this is how the deck is. Let's just start with the extra deck, because the extra deck is really simple. We play triple Suzuku, we play triple Kagari, we played double Hayate, we played double Zeke, we played one Kaina, we played one Charmer, the Ablaze. Didn't summon it in practice, never summoned it at the tournament. And mid-tournament, I definitely would mentally cut it for something else that came up way more often, which I'll talk about in a second. Dark Charmer was amazing. Made this card a couple of times, and sometimes I made this card without, you know, a Sky Striker in the extra deck or in the main monster zone, just so it can search out Ray, and that came up like twice. And setting, you know, spell and traps and stuff like that. So it's a way to get back into Ray, which is really good. But yeah, very good. Summoned it a ton. Unicorn, same thing with Blaze. Never summoned it. I summoned it once to make an access code talker for 53, but wasn't really necessary. I could have still made it 43 and it didn't change a thing. And access code talker is really good. So for these two cards at the tournament, what it should have been, because I was expecting to play against more cash tiers, this should have been a Zeus, because every single time I took monsters, it was always an XYZ, and in my head I was like, oh my god, if I was playing Zeus, it would have been so much better. Honestly, if I would have had this card to be a Zeus instead of Unicorn, I might have would have took the cash player to game 3. Actually, I would have took him to game 3, because that would have outed his birth. And I took his Arise Heart when it had 4 materials underneath it, so that would have been a really big Zeus, and that could have went to game 3, and you never know what can happen in game 3. So, but yeah, that would be a change I would make. And the other card could be a Rise Heart. It's very flexible. You don't need those 2 cards I just mentioned. It could be anything that could help you counteract the meta. Like, you can even play like Albion. So if you take somebody's like Mirror Jade with the Shard Cannon, then you can actually use Mirror Jade's effect to like banish cards, which is really cool. But yes, going into the side deck, I played a triple Ghost Spell. Ghost Spell is really good versus Branded, because I feel like Sky Strikers have a pretty interesting time versus Branded, especially if they go into the Dragoon line. I've seen people actually play Shifter in some Branded lists, and all they do when they make Shifter is they just make a Dragoon, and I honestly probably would have just lost. Like, those 2 cards in conjunction is just GG's for Sky Strikers. So Ghost Bell is really strong into a lot of cool matchups. Cited this card in a lot. It helped versus Call by the Grave. It helped with Bestials. It helped me beat Labyrinth. And it was a very strong card. Almost main deckable, in my opinion. Almost. Triple Cosmic Cyclones. I really played this for anti-spell for the most part. And some other decks like Flunderies, they set up like the fill spell or, you know, cards like that. It was really good. I can see this being like a 2-of, because every time I went and decided, I didn't really have room for the third, so a lot of times I only just played the 2 for the most part. Sometimes I think I did play 3, but I can see it being a 2 of. But yeah, it still performed really well. The times I drew it, it put in a spell in the grave. It's really, really strong. And for the going first cards, I put in there can only be one card. We know. This card is insane. Every time I usually resolve this card, I usually win. And then the other card for going first for certain matches, mostly for branded, but a little bit versus Cash Tier. I almost won with it, but the issue was he had like the baby or Rise Heart, and then he activated the effect to go into the Dark Arm card, and he outed. Actually, there can only be one and this at the same time, so it kind of sucked, but it would have won if he didn't have the baby Rise Heart in that position. So yeah, very good, very, very good. But yeah, put in a lot of work. It was very strong in some matchups, but mostly for branded. It's kind of why I played it. And last card is Evenly Match. Evenly Match is very, very, very good in matchups like versus like Tier or branded or what's it called, Runic, Sprite, Light Twins, decks like that, or decks where if you Dark Hole their field and like they float back out, Evenly Match is like the best card to like replace. Like Dark Hole and Evenly Match got taken in and out a lot in the tournament. So very, very good card. It does sacrifice your battle phase, so it kind of sucks. And I want to show you guys a really cool interaction with Evenly Match, which I did in one round. So I summoned Ray, and I went into battle phase, and I attacked over a monster, and I went to end of main, and then I activate Ray's effect at the end of the main phase, or in a battle phase to tag itself out, and then I resolved the Evenly Match, because in between, while Ray is not on the field, there's nothing else on the field. So you can actually evenly match your opponent and then bring out an extra deck monster, which is really, really insane. So I've done that only once ever, but it was just like I had to do it. It was kind of flashy, and my opponent had to question it. He was like, "Wait, can you really do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can." So yes, that was my tournament experience. It was a very fun time. I had a blast until the end of the day where I felt like garbage because I didn't get enough sleep, and I started hating my deck after a while because one, is very slow. I almost went to time most of the time, every single time, because my opponents didn't know when to scoop. Like when I have like 6 cards in hand, 5 cards on field, and they top decking, they still want to play, and they just, they should have just scooped. So anyway, guys, thank you guys for listening to the deck profile. More Sky Striker updates will be coming in the future, but yeah, Sky Striker is a really good deck. It's just, it takes a lot of brain power to power through a lot of the decks, but it was a very fun time. So guys, thank you guys for listening, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.